Good morning, everyone. I'll start sharing my screen. Okay, I guess everyone can see it now. Hello again. Hi, ako ulit to, si Teacher Jillian. At nasa huling module na kayo. Congratulations. Yay. Module 3, Reading Comprehension. Isa rin to sa malaking points na um, na kinukuha sa sa mga college entrance exam. I think alam naman natin kung bakit mahalaga ang reading comprehension not only sa exams but also in real life, in social media, in the news, sa school, academia, no? At eventually when you decide to work, super important reading comprehension. And often overlooked, no? Sometimes we think that if we're able to read, then we're already good. But that's not really the case because it can be quite tricky when you read something and you don't practice critical reading. You're not critical in reading whatever you're reading because you might fall for propaganda, for misinformation, disinformation, no? Laganap na laganap sa bansa. um, do I need to say more, no? Sa mga issue sa Pilipinas, um, politika, mga balita na medyo, medyo binabaluktot para mag-serve sa mga taong may kapangyarihan. But you get it, no? You know that reading comprehension is important. And I want to set that tone as I start this module because as an English teacher, I am very passionate about literacy and the foundation of learning really is reading, no? And I hope you take that to heart as well. And I am also hoping, balik tayo sa set, I'm also hoping that the exposure that I'm going to give you in the content and practice that I will present ay makatulong sa inyo para ma-familiarize with the format of the exam, with how you will tackle the exam, and all that. Okay? Sige. For this module, the checklist, ito ang topics natin, main idea and supporting details. We're going back to the basics, just like yung mga modules 1 and 2, no? Nagsimula tayo sa mga pinaka-simpleng topics na kahit sa tingin nyo ay alam na alam nyo na, eh, kailangan pa rin nating balikan. Main idea, supporting details, and then we have inference and conclusion. Ano ba yung difference ng dalawang yan at gaano sila ka-importante when reading? We also have author's purpose and tone, and sequence and organization, and finally, critical reading. Ngayon, meron tayong 5 topics dito. Magkakaugnay itong mga ito para siyang nag-build up over time, no? Papalaki siya ng papalaki. Pero, unahan ko lang kayo na, again, katulad ng sinabi ko sa mga ibang module, hindi sapat itong module na to para ma-prepare kayo for entrance exam, no? Lalo na kung buong high school nyo, hindi kayo ganun nag-aral. Actually, kasi ako rin ganun din ako nung high school eh. So, when I took the entrance exams, I was so nervous, no? Sobrang kabado talaga ako kasi alam ko nung high school ako, nagliwaliw lang din talaga ako. And I am very lucky to have passed UGCAT. What I'm saying is, if alam mo sa sarili mo na kailangan mo pa talagang mag-aral, huwag sanang tumigil dito sa module na to yung pag-aaral mo. Okay. Sige. Let's start with the first topic, the main idea and supporting details. Nakita niyo na siguro itong picture na to, yung ice cream, no? Yung main idea, yung cone, tapos yung supporting details, yung mga ice cream scoop, no? Ano ba yung main idea at ano ang supporting details? The main idea is the central thought of a passage, is what the text is mostly about, no? It is the single most important point the author wants to communicate. No, ayun yung pinag-uusapan. Ayun yung kung saan tungkol talaga yung passage or yung text. Ano naman ang supporting details? Supporting details are facts or examples or maybe descriptions that tell you more about the main idea. They explain or prove the main idea. Pwede rin na parang kung ang main idea ay maganda ako, then ang supporting details ko ay kayumanggi ang aking balat, matangos ang aking ilong, maganda at maputi ang aking mga ngipin. Ayun yung mga parang nagsusupport doon sa claim o doon sa main idea na maganda ako. Gets? 'Di ba? Madali lang 'to, madali lang, review lang, no? Parang ang tips ko sa inyo, para makita mo yung main idea, tanungin mo yung sarili mo. What is the author mostly talking about? Ano ba yung parang litaw na litaw, no? Tsaka medyo ano rin 'to, pattern recognition, no? Titignan mo kung alin yung pinaka-general, ta's alin yung mga specific. Kasi most likely, yung general, ayun yung main idea. Tapos yung mga specific, ayun yung supporting details, no? When looking for the main idea, you ignore the minor details and you focus on the big picture. Pag supporting details naman, you will often answer how, why, or what examples, no? Okay? Sana naiintindihan natin ang pinagkaiba ng main idea and supporting details at kung paano siya kinukuha sa isang passage. Para mas madali o para mas ma-practice kayo sa kung paano hanapin yung main idea at supporting details, may papakita ako sa inyong passage. Ayan. Basahin niyo yan for a few minutes. Tapos, ano natin siya? Tsaka natin siya hihimayin. Sige. Okay, I think that's enough time for you to have read and understood the excerpt from A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. Babasahin natin siya together. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light, it was the season of darkness, it was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair. We had everything before us. We had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven. We were all going direct the other way. In short, the period was so far like the present period that some of its noisiest authorities insisted on its being received for good or for evil in the superlative degree of comparison only. So, after reading this, by the way, I just want to add pala, when you, especially sa UPCAT, yung mga reading comprehension questions dun, yung ano, yung mga text na gagamitin, puro authentic text, no? Madalas yung mga ano yan, mga known na authors, mga known na literature, ganyan. Pwede rin na mga current events news o mga contemporary text. So, it helps as well kapag marami kayong kilalang author, pag alam nyo yung mga, marami kayong nabasa ng mga text, no? Anyway, I was talking about, if napapansin nyo, itong text na to, no? Parang ano siya, um, maraming contradiction, no? Sa ano, sa pagkakasulat sa kanya. Pero what I want you um to find is the main idea, no? What is the main idea of the excerpt? Ito yung choices. Siyempre, mahihirapan kayo kapag walang choices, 'di ba? Kasi ano 'to, medyo creative text siya. Pero if naintindihan mo itong creative text na 'to, then you will be able to see kung ano yung answer. Tingnan natin yung choices. Ayan. What is the main idea of the excerpt? If kailangan nyo ulit balikan yung text, you can pause the video and then go back to the text. Pero ito yung question, no? Sagutin natin siya. What is the main idea? A. Life was full of happiness. B. The era was full of contradictions. C. People were wise and foolish. Or D. Times were difficult. Okay, sige. Think about it po. Okay, 'di ba? Nabanggit ko na kanina na ang text natin ay ano 'no, puno siya ng contradictions 'no, kasi sabi, sige mamaya pala, hindi ko pala puwedeng i-point out kasi itatanong ko pa pala sa inyo 'yan. So, I guess alam naman yung sagot 'no, ang sagot ay letter ay! Walang reveal. Sige, hindi ko pala nalagyan ng slide pero ang sagot dito ay letter B. The era was full of contradictions. Why, no? What details or which details support the main idea? Sige nga. Tingnan dito sa excerpt kung alin diyan yung mga nagsusupport doon sa main idea na yung era nila ay full of contradictions. Okay? Ngayon, bigyan ko na kayo ng enough time para tignan ulit yung details no ng excerpt. At if naisip nyo na ito yon, then tama kayo. Yan. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. No? Ayun pa lang, makikita mo na yung contradiction nung era, di ba? Kasi sabi, it was the best of times, no? Puro masasaya siguro yung maganda yung mga experience nila, pero it was also the worst of times. Ano pa? Ito pa, no? It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness, no? How can you describe some era na marami ang wisdom, no? Pero marami rin ang foolishness. I think very apparent to sa today's world, no? Kasi the information, sobra siyang unlimited. Unlimited yung information that we have today, especially with the internet and how fast information travels. Pero at the same time, it also was, it also is the age of foolishness. Bakit? No? Sobrang apparent ng misinformation, sobrang daming fake news, 'di ba? And ang daming tanga, no? Ang daming tanga sa mundo. Sorry for the word, pero totoo, 'di ba? Maraming naloloko, maraming nagpapaloko, no? Maraming bulag sa katotohanan. And para kahit gaano katagal na tong text na to, it is still true, no? Ang daming contradiction sa mundo natin. What else? What else? Ano pang details yung nagsusupport sa main idea, no? Ano? Ayun lang din, yung kasunod lang din, no? It was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity. Ano ba yung incredulity, ma'am? Hindi kasi namin alam. Sorry. Kaka-breakfast ko lang. Anyway, incredulity. Ano ibig sabihin ba niyan? Idagdag natin sa vocabulary nyo. Sulat, incredulity, ibig sabihin unwilling or unable to believe. Unwilling or unable to believe. Diba? Kabaliktaran na naman yun ng epoch of belief. Kasi yung belief, naniniwala. No? Pero yung incredulity, hindi naniniwala. Okay? Ano pa? Ano pang details ang nagpapakita ng contradiction dito? E di syempre, ito nang next, no? It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. very basic. Kitang-kita, no? Season of light, kabaligtaran niya ay season of darkness, no? And then finally, ano pa? Di yan na, no? Yung next line. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. Ano ba ang despair? Ang despair kasi, ibig sabihin, tuluyan na or yung complete na nawala yung hope o yung pag-asa. No? Hopeless na yung ibig sabihin ng despair. And syempre, kabaliktaran yun ng hope. Tapos meron pa dito siyang wordplay na it was the spring of hope, di ba? Pagka spring, merong ano pagka spring na yung season, nagbo-bloom na yung mga halaman, di ba? So, magandang symbolism yun of hope. Pero sabi niya, it was the winter of despair. Pagka winter naman, nag-wither na yung mga plants. Tapos, medyo malungkot na yung, yung vibe. Di ba? So, kabaliktaran na naman. And, so on and so forth. Di ba? Meron din siya ditong, we had everything before us, we had nothing before us. Napakaganda nga ng pagkakasulat nitong excerpt na to actually. Kasi 'di ba, very poetic, ang daming contradiction talaga. Pero kung mapapansin niyo nung hinahanap natin yung main idea, hindi naman siya talaga nakasulat diyan, 'di ba? Na sinasabi na yung era daw ay full of contradictions. Hindi. Pero kailangan maintindihan mo yung buong text kung ano yung sinasabi niya. Kailangan makita mo yung pattern. Kailangan makita mo ano ba yung ano yung parang common denominator dito sa text na 'to. And gano'n din talaga kahit sa ibang text 'pag naghahanap kayo ng main idea, kailangan maintindihan mo yung kabuuan ng text kung anong sinasabi sa'yo para ma-identify mo yung main idea. And then, from the pattern na nakita mo, doon mo na rin kukunin kung ano yung mga supporting details, okay? Wala na tayong ibang text na ida-dissect for main idea and for supporting details kasi introduction lang naman ito, no? Madali lang naman talaga siyang ano, sana nadadalian tayo na i-point out ito. Pero sa mga assessment natin, sa formative tsaka sa battery assessment, magkakaroon pa kayo ng mas maraming practice sa pag-identify nito. Okay? Sige. Next topic na tayo. Next topic is inference and conclusion. When we talk about inference and conclusion, we are really talking about the skill of reading between the lines and then deciding what the text ultimately means, no? An inference is a logical guess or an educated guess it is a guess that you make based on clues, no, observations or prior knowledge combined with your own reasoning, no? Kasi most of the time, authors do not state everything directly. Instead, they leave hints, descriptions, or maybe situations that require you to connect the dots. So, minsan, yung plot, yung paikot-ikot siya, pero dapat, as a reader, maging critical enough ka to infer or um, to guess, no? To guess kung ano talaga yung pinaparating ni author. For example, sabi dito, you see smoke coming from a house and your inference is something inside is burning, no? Sinabi lang naman na merong smoke, pero ikaw, syempre, alam mo, may prior knowledge ka na kapag may smoke, meron ding apoy o meron ding nasusunog, no? Pwede ring example, if a character in a story is described as, siya, um, nanginginig, no, nagshi-shiver, tapos nakabalot siya ng blanket, tapos, sabi niya, ano, yung hininga daw niya ay parang may ano, may usok, 'no? Anong ibig sabihin nun? Kahit na yung author, never niyang sinabi na it was cold, 'no, na malamig doon, mai-infer mo na, parang mahuhulaan mo na yung setting, probably winter, 'no, probably malamig, nasa malamig na lugar siya. Sa kabilang banda naman, a conclusion is the judgment or decision that you reach after considering all the information. So after you infer everything, after you consolidate the clues, no, ito na yung final outcome. Ito na yung decision mo kung ano talaga yung nangyayari. And it is based on synthesizing evidences and inferences, as what I have said a while ago. Kumbaga, it is the endpoint of your reasoning na. And this statement sums up what the text implies. For instance, sabi dito, you see the smoke, hear a fire alarm, and see firefighters arriving. So there are several evidence and situations na that you can consolidate. And then your conclusion is the house is on fire. Pwede rin naman, for instance, if a passage describes a student, no, who studies diligently, asks questions in class, and siguro consistent na mataas yung mga grades niya or mga mark niya, you can conclude that the student is, ano ba siya, masipag, no, hardworking, and siguro, binavalue niya yung education. Parang overall, inference is the process, conclusion is the product, no? You infer and then you conclude. Ganun yung ano niya, yung pagkakasunod niya. And to master this skill, you must always ask yourself, what evidence is given? 'Di ba? Parang dapat ano, babalik ka pa rin doon sa main idea and supporting details. Kasi yung supporting details, usually, ayun yung evidence, no? Ano ba yung mga supporting details? Ano yung mga evidence? Tapos, kapag naintindihan mo na siya, what is implied? And what logical statement can you make from it? No? Parang, after reading, after understanding or comprehending what you've read, the details and all that, mag-iisip ka kung siguro i-picture mo siya sa mind mo or you tap into your prior knowledge to think about what does this imply? Ano ang kalalabasan nito o anong itsura talaga nito in real life, no? And in exams like the OPCAT, questions will often ask you to infer a character's feelings, the author's attitude, or the unstated meaning of a passage, and then to draw a conclusion that is supported by the text. When that happens, you need to remember that good readers do not just accept words at face value. No? They analyze, they interpret, and they reason until they arrive at a deeper understanding of the text. Okay? And just like sa lesson natin sa module 2, no, hindi natin kailangan yung mga definitions ng inference, ng conclusion, ano bang pinagkaiba nila. Pero ang kailangan nyo is to practice what to do or how to do it. No? Sige, tingin tayo ng isang passage. Okay, ito naman galing kay William Shakespeare from Hamlet, no? As you notice, puro authentic text yung ginagamit ko kasi most probably authentic text din yung ipapakita nila sa inyo doon. No, sige, basahin 'to. Bigyan ko kayo ng medyo marami-raming time kasi medyo maano 'to, eh, si Shakespeare, wordy 'no, verbose siya. So, bigyan ko kayo a few minutes to understand and to, you know, isa-puso para maintindihan niyo lang din kung ano yung sinasabi niya dito. Sorry about that. Carry na ba? Carry na ba nating magpatuloy? I have of late, but wherefore I know not, lost all my mirth, forgone all custom of exercises. And indeed, it goes so heavily with my disposition that this goodly frame, the earth, seems to me a sterile promontory, this most excellent canopy, the air, look you, this brave overhanging firmament, this majestical roof fretted with golden fire. Why, it appears no other thing to me than a foul and pestilent congregation of vapors. What a piece of work is man! How novel is reason! How infinite in faculties, in form and moving, how express and admirable, in action, how like an angel, in apprehension, how like a god, the beauty of the world, the paragon of animals, and yet, to me, what is this quintessence of dust? Wow. Okay. Now, syempre, tatanungin ko kayo, what can we infer about Hamlet's state of mind? Siya yung nagsasalita do'n sa ano, sa excerpt, 'no? Ano kaya ang maiisip natin sa the way siya nagsalita? 'Pag kailangan balikan yung full text, paki-pause na lang yung video at ibalik doon, 'no? Sige. The answer is that Hamlet feels depressed and hopeless. Saan natin 'yun makikita, 'no? Anong detail yung nagsusupport na Hamlet feels depressed and hopeless? Sa tingin niyo, alin diyaan sa mga iyan? Lost all my mirth, goodly framed the earth, custom of exercises, or promontory? Nakikita niyo ba yung pattern, 'no? Ang pattern is hahanap ka nung mga parang nag-aano ka, eh, nagha-hunt ka ng evidences doon sa text, 'no, para maintindihan mo kung ano yung pinaparating niya. Kaya ngayon tinatanong kayo kung alin yung detail na nagsu-support doon sa inference. Sige, hula-hula o kung alam talaga, very good. Okay, sana may sagot na. Ang sagot para sa question na 'to ay lost all my mirth, 'no? Ano ba yung mirth? Kasi baka mahirapan din kung ano, kung hindi alam yung ibig sabihin ng mirth, 'no? Ano ba yung mirth? Sa literary text, ang ibig sabihin nito ay parang amusement, laughter, or yung parang high spirits, no? Often kinakarakterize to by glee, merriment, and yung pagiging jolly. So if sinabi ni Hamlet na he lost all his mirth, ibig sabihin, no, nawalan na siya ng parang ano, amor sa buhay, parang hindi, wala na siyang saya, wala na siyang amusement, no? Hindi na siya nakakatawa. So, if ganun yung sinabi niya, ibig sabihin, no, troubled siya, depressed siya, no? Tsaka, ano pa yung, yung very apparent din, gusto ko rin ibalikan yung text. Sabi dito sa text, sa dulo, sabi niya, ayan, no, sabi niya, what a piece of work is man, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculties, in form and moving, how express and admirable in action, how like an angel, in apprehension, how like a god. The beauty of the world, no? Nakikita naman niya, the paragon of animals. He sees what the world is. He sees the beauty of the world, but then, para sa kanya daw, and yet to me, what in this quintessence of dust, no? So like, kahit nakikita niya yon, ganun pa rin siya. Parang ano pa rin siya, like very pessimistic pa rin siya. Hindi pa rin siya nagiging better. And I think this excerpt will resonate to many of us, no, who are experiencing mental health issues, who are struggling in life, no? Kasi sometimes people will say that we should see the bright side, no? Tignan lang natin yung brighter side and to just think positive. But alam naman natin, di ba? Alam natin na there's more to life. There are a lot of things to be grateful for. But still, we feel the same. We still feel sad and depressed and that because they just don't understand, no? And before it gets too depressing, I will move forward with the slides. Okay, yeah. What conclusion can we draw about Hamlet's view of life? Sayang kung synchronous lang sana 'to, 'di ba? Pero pwede sana tayong magkaroon ng sharing, makapag-usap-usap tayo about your answers. It would really mean so much to me if I will hear your voices. Pero sige, sagutan niyo 'yan. Okay. What conclusion can we draw, no? A, sees life as meaningless. B, he enjoys nature. C, he is optimistic about the future. Or D, he values exercise. Sobrang absurd naman, no? Kung he values exercise. And yung hindi rin letter C, he is optimistic about the future because he's pessimistic pa nga, no? So, it all leads to letter A, no? He sees life as meaningless. Kasi nga, very ano na siya eh, very pessimistic na nga siya eh, kahit na, ano eh, kahit na ano pang maganda sa mundo eh, wala na. He lost all his mirth, no? Wala na siyang ngiti. Nawala na yung ngiti ni Hamlet. So, before I end yung inference and conclusion, did you see yung pattern na you look for evidence and then you infer something out of that evidence, no? Kung yung evidence ay nakasulat sa text, he lost his mirth, then the inference would be that he could be depressed, no? Kasi if someone says that they can't smile anymore, then definitely they might be depressed or they might be troubled, no? And if this is how he talks, then what can we conclude about his view of life? Then maybe he sees life as meaningless, no? Ayun yung pattern ng inference and conclusion. And hopefully, that is also how you read, no? You really look into what the author is saying, yung choice of words ng author, no? Kasi it's very important, no? And speaking about the author, we'll move on to topic 3, which is the author's purpose and tone. Tone. In literature, tone refers to the attitude or mood that the text conveys, shaped by the author's choice of words and formatting. Diba nabanggit ko na yung importance ng choice of words, no? When we read a passage kasi, we don't only look at what the author says, but also at how the author says it. This is what we call the author's tone, no? The attitude or feeling that comes through in the writing. Tone can be serious, humorous, sarcastic, optimistic, angry, or even neutral. And it is revealed through the author's choice of words, yung mga imagery na ginagamit niya, and his style. For example, if an author writes, um, gusto ko na naman isulat, kaya lang di ko alam kung di na naman ako makakapagsulat ng maayos. Wag na, sasabihin ko na lang. Sabi, ito yung sentence. The soldiers gave their lives so that freedom might endure. Again, the sentence is, the soldiers gave their lives so that freedom might endure. Ano ang tone nito? The tone is solemn and respectful to the soldiers, no? Kasi yung pagkakagamit niya ng words, di ba? The soldiers gave their lives, no? Sinabi, gave their lives. Parang ang sobra yung reverence, sobra yung respect para doon sa ginawa ng mga soldiers. Pero if another author writes, the politicians' promises were nothing but hot air. Di ba ito yung, yung sentence natin kahapon tuloy. Nung module 2, 'di ba? Sabi sa sa mga idioms, sabi ko, the politicians' promises were nothing but hot air. Ang tone dito is very critical and dismissive kasi the politician was making promises pero the author is saying na it was just hot air, no? So dinidismiss nila yung words nung politician. Although, may ito naman talagang katotohanan yun most of the time, 'di ba? Anyway, parang tayo as readers, we must pay attention to adjectives, no? Paano nila dinedescribe yung person or yung thing or yung situation. Depende sa dinedescribe. Basta kung paano siya nagde-describe. Yung mga descriptive phrases niya, yung ginagamit, no? And yung emotional language na ginagamit ni author. Because these are the clues. These are clues that tell us how the author feels about the subject, no? Kasi minsan may laman talaga eh, may bigat talaga eh. Parang kung ano talaga yung gustong isuntok nung author, ayun yung word choice na gagamitin niya. And kahapon nga, 'di ba, napag-usapan natin na ang mga words, meron siya mga degrees, no? May mas mababaw lang na degree, merong mas mataas na degree, no? Pag sinabi mong inis, mababa lang 'yon, pero pag sinabi mong poot, sobrang galit na, 'di ba? So, kung inis lang yung ginamit ng author, then maybe hindi gano'n ka-inis si author, no? Hindi gano'n ka-inis yung tone niya. Pero if sinabi niyang napupuot siya, hindi definitely galit na galit siya dun sa pinag-uusapan. And in exams, like the UPCAT, you may be asked to identify whether a passage is written in a hopeful tone, a pessimistic tone, or a sarcastic tone. And the key is to ask yourself, what emotion or attitude do these words carry? No, if the words inspire reverence, katulad dun sa soldiers kanina, or if the tone is respectful, no? If they exaggerate flaws, parang kapag parang sobra naman siyang sobra naman parang inaatake niya naman yung topic or yung subject, baka meron siyang hidden agenda kung bakit niya sinulat yung text, or if like the tone is very critical, no? Baka um probably yung yung beliefs ng author ay taliwas doon sa pinag-uusapan, no? They can be critical and sometimes it's okay, pero sometimes it can be misleading. Kaya this is also, no, parang important practice to parang himayin mo kung saan ba talaga nanggagaling to. Is he coming from a place of concern, no? Concern ba siya sa bansa natin o baka naman ano lang talaga siya? Parang he's speaking out of his emotions, no? Nagpapadala lang ba siya sa emotions niya? And isipin nyo rin if they lighten the mood, no? If parang medyo pinapagaan nila yung pagkakakwento nila sa something, kung parang niro-romanticize ba nila yung kahirapan, 'di ba? Like sinasabi ba nila na ang kahirapan ay nagbi-build ng resilience? That's off for me, no? Hindi dapat gano'n, hindi dapat gano'n fini-frame ang kahirapan, dahil ang kahirapan ay kahirapan, no? Kahit kaano pang resilience ang naging produkto nito ay hindi siya magiging tama or hindi siya magiging masaya. Or if they're making the tone humorous, no? Kung pa-joke yung ano niya, yung pagkakakwento niya. And madalas tong ganitong writing sa mga sitcom, sa mga rom-com, no? Pero overall, tandaan nyo lang po, remember that the tone shapes the meaning, no? Two authors can write about the same event, but one may sound hopeful, no? For example, there is an article na nagsusulat about typhoon, no? One article would write that Filipinos are very resilient when it comes to typhoons, no? Kasi we endure, we're used to experiencing typhoon, that we don't cry anymore. We just laugh about it, no? And we just joke about it. One may sound hopeful, one may sound like that, and the other may sound critical of the government because of the recent flood control projects that basta yung mga flood control project ng mga nakaraan, 'di ba? Tapos pag nagka-typhoon, syempre yung framing ng mga article ay syempre medyo critical na, kasi no, hindi natin kailangan maging resilient, no? Bakit natin kailangan maging resilient kung meron naman tayong pondo para suportahan yung ating mga buhay o ating kaligtasan sa pagdating ng mga kalamidad, 'di ba? Yung two authors na yon, they can write about the same event, they can write about the same typhoon, pero yung isa magto-talk about something hopeful like resilience, and yung isa manghihingi siya ng accountability, and it's critical, and it is what I prefer. Okay. And tayo, as a critical reader, our job is to detect that attitude and explain how it influences the message of the text, how it will influence the reader, and how it will influence our thinking, no? Kasi whenever we read, we're influenced. And if parang aware ka na itong author na to, gusto ka lang niyang maging hopeful, kung gusto ka lang niyang parang wag mong sisihin yung gobyerno. If aware ka doon, maki-criticize mo eh. Maiisip mo na, ay, pinipilit, parang ano lang niya, parang, ang tawag dito, bine-brainwash na lang naman ako nitong author na to para hindi ko sisihin yung gobyerno. Pero ang totoo talaga, kailangan natin humingi ng accountability. Gets? Gets kung bakit important ang tone? Okay. Ngayon, magbabasa ulit tayo ng isang text, no? Practice tayo ulit para para gumaling-galing ang ating mga utak sa pagbabasa. Okay? Basahin ang susunod na text. Galing ito kay Abraham Lincoln sa Gettysburg Address niya noong 1863. Excerpt lang din ito para hindi naman kayo masyado mahirapan. Basahin po. Ay, by the way, guys, alam niyo ba yung ibig sabihin ng fourscore? Yung word na score, yung score, ibig sabihin niyan 20. So, if ibig sabihin niyan is 20, then fourscore means 80, di ba? 4 times 20, 87 years ago. Ayun yung sinasabi ni Abraham Lincoln dyan. 87 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty, and dedicated to the proposition that long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper we should do this. No? Four score. Baka itanong yan. Alam mo, minsan ano yan eh, minsan nire-reference yan sa sa math, sa math questions, no? Pag sinabing score, alam nyo na ha, 20 yan. Ibig sabihin 20. Okay? Share ko lang. At saka itong Gettysburg Address, ano siya eh, ano lang, ang context lang to, immediate context niya, yung Gettysburg Address, it was meant to help yung i-dedicate yung cemetery at Gettysburg. Kaya sinasabi dito, oh, we have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who gave their lives. No, parang ano siya, gagawing cemetery. Anyway, ito yung question. What is the author's tone in this passage? It is humorous? Is it is it humorous? Is it solemn and respectful? Is it angry or is it indifferent? Given the context, no, I already told you about the context. What do you think is the author's tone in the passage? Ano yung nararamdaman niya when he was giving this address? Okay? Siguro may sagot na ang mga tao. Ang sagot dito ay letter B, no? Solemn and respectful. Kasi si Lincoln, ino-honor niya dito yung mga fallen soldiers, no, with reverence and seriousness. Parang since he's talking about their place of rest, gusto niya i-honor itong mga soldiers. So that the tone is solemn and respectful. Hindi naman humorous, no? Hindi naman ginawang katatawanan, hindi rin siya galit at hindi rin siya walang pakialam. Okay. Next. Yan, sige. Sabi dito, which phrase best reflects Lincoln's attitude toward the nation? No? Toward the nation, hindi toward the soldier, okay? Toward the nation. Sige, balikan natin yung text. Tapos, balik tayo doon sa question. Diba? Nabasa na, no? Which phrase best reflects Lincoln's attitude toward the nation? Ano sa tingin niyo? Conceived in liberty, final resting place, great battlefield, altogether fitting and proper. The answer is letter A, conceived in liberty. No, pinapakita nung linya na to yung reverence niya for the nation's founding ideals, no? Kasi ano rin like ito yung phrase na parang pinapakita niya kung ano yung tingin niya doon sa nation niya. No, hindi siya yung final resting place. Ang lungkot naman kung ang tingin ni Lincoln sa nation, no? Attitude niya toward the nation ay final resting place. At saka great battlefield. No, war is not fun, no? No one wins a war. Okay. Question number 3. What emotion is conveyed by gave their lives that nation might live? Joy, sacrifice, humor, or indifference? Habang iniisip niyo yung sagot niyo dyan, kasi last question na to para sa author's tone. Sa author's tone, ang gusto ko lang i-highlight sa inyo is, kailangan kapag nagbabasa kayo ay himayin ninyo yung words ng author. No? Nasa choice of words ng author, doon nyo makikita kung ano yung nararamdaman nila habang nagsusulat. Okay? Kasi sa paggamit nila ng words, makikita mo kung ano yung tumatakbo sa isip niya. And hindi lang to sa entrance exam applicable. kahit anong basahin mo, kahit sa Facebook ka lang nagbabasa, kung paano piniphrase ng Facebook poster na yan, yung post niya, ayun din yung kung ano yung attitude niya towards the topic. Kunyari, nag-post siya about travel, niya, mga travel pictures niya, tapos, tapos nag-caption siya, no? Makikita mo dun kung, kung masaya ba siya sa trip na yon o nalulungkot siya dun sa trip na yon o kaya naman, kapag, di ba, yung mga, yung iba nagpo-post ng, naalala ko tuloy, si Flo G, di ba yung jowa niya, si Angelica Yap. Angelica Yap ba yun? Basta Angelica ata yung pangalan ng girlfriend niya. Nag-post yun dati, sabi niya parang kahit hindi ka pogi, parang like, basta ganto ganyan, babayat or something. So, anong pwede nating ma-conclude doon sa sa tone ni Angelica, 'di ba? Parang ang nararamdaman niya is okay lang sa kanya or parang like hindi niya iniisip na pogi si Flo G, pero happy pa rin naman siya. No? Ayun yung medyo um real life example kung paano mo tinitingnan yung author's tone sa social media. Anyway, anong sagot niya dito? Since ginamit ng author dito yung gave their lives, no, para daw yung nation might live, no, di sacrifice na yan, no? It highlights yung soldiers' ultimate contribution dun sa nation. Okay. And now we move on to topic 4. Yay! We only have 5 topics and this will be very quick. So, like, brace yourselves kasi matatapos na tayo sa English and verbal ability portion ng exam. Okay. Topic 4, we have sequence and organization. When we read a passage, it is important not only to understand the meaning of each sentence, but also to recognize the correct order in which events happen. This is what we call the sequence of events. Authors often use markers like first, then later, finally, to guide us no sa logical na progression ng text. But in exams such as the OPCAT, sentences may be scrambled and you will be asked to arrange them logically. To do this, always look for clues, no? Ito yung ang clues natin itong mga time markers, what must happen before something else? Like logically, sa tingin mo, pag inisip mo, ano ba yung unang mangyayari? For example, a character, pag kunyari sa ang setting siguro sa bahay, tapos may dinner, tapos may guhugas, may magluluto, ganyan. So, a character cannot wash the dishes first before eating dinner. So, yung logical order niyan, if ever na pagsusunod-sunodin mo is first cooking, next is eating, and then yung cleaning, no? Parang, sorry, oh my God. Inom lang ako water, people. Okay. So, when you sequence or inorganize mo yung event, syempre, helpful na, i-imaginein mo talaga siya sa utak mo kung paano siya nangyayari sa totoong buhay. And another helpful tip is to watch for cause and effect relationships. If the text says, it rained so Pedro opened his umbrella, ibig sabihin, the rain must come first, no? And then, the umbrella action follows. You can also pay attention to daily routines or natural progressions, no? Waking up comes before brushing teeth, and then brushing teeth comes before eating breakfast. Or kayo ba? Ano bang una niyong ginagawa? Ako kasi, when I wake up, gising ako, tapos toothbrush, tapos tsaka ako magpe-breakfast. Pero I know some people do wake up and then breakfast and then brush teeth. Pero I think I'm right. No, I'm always right. Charing. Pero you do you. This is just an example. Pero when you practice sequencing, you should ask yourself, what is the starting point? No, what comes next? And what is the ending action? kapag maraming mga steps, ang helpful thing to do is tignan mo kung ano yung pinakaumpisa at ano yung pinakadulo. Tapos pag nasa choices mo tapos nasa choices ay, kunyari, yung letter C lang yung nagpapakita na tama yung unahan tsaka dulo, eh di definitely, ayun na yung sagot mo, no? Ganun yung technique para mabilis. Kasi, syempre, mabilisan tong yung exam eh. Nabi-visualize nyo ba yung sinasabi ko? Kunyari ganito, i-draw ko muna sa page. Ang hirap pag walang mouse. Wait lang, magkakabit ako ng mouse. Nahihirapan ako, guys. We can move through the traffic. Okay, I have my mouse. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4. Tapos mga passage yan nandiyan. Passage, passage, passage. Tapos ang choices A, ano ang gagawin dyan pag susunod-sunodin nyo, ha? Kunyari, 1, 2, wait lang, 3, and then 4. Tapos yung B, 2, 1, 3, 4. Tapos yung letter C is, ano ba? 1, 2, 4, 3. Ayan. So, if ganyan yung choices, tapos alam mo tapos na-recognize mo na, ay, yung first, ito yung pang-una. Tapos ang panghuli ko dyan, ito, pang-apat siya. Ay, 4. 4 dapat 4. Yan. Pang-apat siya. So, pag tinignan mo yung choices, dalawa yung nasa unahan yung 1. So, silang dalawa na lang yung pagpipilian. Eh, kaso, ang pang-apat mo is yung itong pangatlo. So, X na to. Ito na yung sagot, no? Ito na yung sagot. Kasi siya yung pangdulo niya yung number 3. Gets? Para hindi mo na i-arrange lahat. Titignan mo na lang yung choices kasi may choices naman yung exam, 'di ba? Wag papahirapan ng sarili. Okay, nasa na tayo? Okay, so before tayo mag-proceed sa next slide, remember guys, sequence is about order and organization is about clarity. Now, good readers can restore if you're a good reader, you can restore scrambled sentences into a smooth narrative because you can recognize yung time signals, yung cause and effect, and logical progression. And the test makers want to see that. No, gusto nila if ganun nag-work yung utak mo, kung kaya mo yung ganun. No? Kasi it also means that you can write, no? If you can organize scrambled passages, then definitely kaya mo isulat yun kasi alam mo yung logical progression, no? Let's practice. Isa lang 'to. Ayan, passage 1. Sige nga. Ano ang tamang pagkakasunod-sunod? Merong mga markers 'to, so I think madali lang. Okay? Baka sinusulat niyo pa yung mga sentences, ha? Wag na. Isulat na lang yung mga numbers, okay? Mga ng pagkakasunod-sunod. Ipapakita ko yung pagkakasunod-sunod niya sa susunod na slide. Ayan. Ito yung pagkakasunod-sunod. 3, 2, 5, 1, 4. Sige, tingnan natin. Yung pang-unang-una sabi, in taking the academic IELTS writing task 2, one must take note of the criteria or rubrics. If you'll notice, the next steps or the next passages will all talk about criteria or yung rubrics, no? And this is a good way to spot the main idea. Kasi yung main idea, ayun na yung general na ang tawag dito, yung general na siyang sumasaklaw doon sa mga supporting details, no? Sabi ko sa inyo, it all leads back to main idea and supporting details. Okay? O, ayan na, nakita natin yung main idea. Tapos, ano yung mga nagsusupport dyan, no? We have, the initial criterion is task achievement. So, I underlined initial criterion. Bakit? Kasi clue yan, no? Clue yan na siya yung pinakaunang criteria on and rubric, no? This refers to addressing the task given by giving giving a position on an argument and fully supporting it. Next, yung the second criterion, di given na agad, no? May second criterion. So, siya yung susunod sa initial criterion. And then next, yung aside from addressing the task and following a rational structure, if you look at passage number 2, naka-underline dyan yung addressing the task, tsaka yung susunod, yung rational structure. Bakit? Kasi, ayun yung clue para dun sa susunod na passage. Kasi, it comes after yung first two, no? First two criteria. Sabi dito, aside from addressing the task and following a rational structure, using a wide range of vocabulary is also important. So, ayun na yung susunod. And then, meron na tayong panghuli, no? Kasi, meron siyang nakalagay na lastly. Kung hindi nyo na-figure out agad yung main idea doon sa pangatlong passage, then, pwede nyo pagsunod-sunod rin tong apat, yung initial, yung second, yung aside, tsaka yung lastly. And then, you will figure out saan na lang yung pwesto nung pangatlo, di ba? E di sa unahan na siya. Okay? Ganun lang, no? Maging maging practical din kayo, no? Practical kayo, underline kayo, dumihan nyo yung papel, no? Sulatan nyo. Sulatan nyo para madali ninyong maka-interact at mas ma-engage yung utak nyo. Ayun yung ginagawa ko actually. When I take exams, palagi akong makalat sa papel. Nagbibilog-bilog ako, nag-aano ako para ma-visualize ko siya kasi medyo visual learner ako. Kayo, kung ano nag-work para sa inyo, kung kailangan nyo siyang basahin ng malakas, wag lang masyadong malakas kasi syempre may mga nag-exam din. Pero if you want to, you can. Okay? That's all for topic 4. We're moving to the umbrella term of everything, and this is the most important thing that you should acquire as a person. Not as a person, as a student siguro, or as a test taker. Pero pwede rin as a person because it's important, at least to me. No? Important sa akin maging critical reader. What is it? When we talk about critical reading, we mean going beyond simply understanding the words on the page or what the text says. No? We do it by examining how and why it says it. No? Critical reading requires us to evaluate, question, and analyze what the author is saying and how they are saying it. It is not enough to know the literal meaning. You must ask whether the author's arguments are valid. No? Hindi lang porket sinabi ni sino ba pwedeng example? Naiisip ko kasi si Sara Duterte. Sige, siya na lang. Pero nothing personal ha. Basta siya yung naisip ko. Sabi ko, ang sinasabi ko kanina? Ayan, you must ask whether the author's arguments are valid. So, hindi porket sinabi ni Sara na hindi siya nagnakaw, maniniwala ka na. No? Hindi porket sinabi niya na inosente yung tatay niya, maniniwala ka na, no? Dapat i-gauge mo rin kung yung mga sinasabi niya ba ay valid, no? Whether the evidence is strong, strong ba yung ebidensya niya? Hindi porket sinabi ni Kito Duterte na napauwiin na yung tatay niya kasi marami pa rin naman siyang supporters, ganyan, no? Dapat tignan natin yung evidence and whether there is bias in the presentation or sa sa mga pinagsasabi nila. Kung may bias ba, bakit? Bakit ganun sila magsalita? Bakit? Kasi tatay nila yun di ba? Tatay nila yun. So, kung kung ay basta. Ayoko na sila palang pag-usapan. Ito na lang. For example, if you read an editorial that praises a new government policy, no, parang pag may nabasa ka kunyari sa Diaryo o kaya nag-post yung GMA News, no, na pinipraise nila yung bagong government policy. For example, pinipraise yung yung jeepney modernization, no, pinipraise yung ganong policy. Hindi mo siya dapat i-accept at face value, no? Hindi porket hindi porket pinipraise siya ng isang news outlet, maniniwala ka na agad. Although I'm not saying na hindi ka dapat maniwala, pero dapat meron ka pa rin parang part sa sarili mo na i-ask mo yung sarili mo, no? Ano ba yung mga reasons na binibigay ng author? Ano ba yung mga arguments nila? Bakit ano ba yung mga reasons ba nila supported ba by facts? Gagawin mo dapat yung research mo, no? And tanungin mo rin, is the author presenting only one side of the issue? Ano pa ba yung other side nito? Probably, sinasabi lang nila, kunyari, maganda yung modernization kasi maganda sa kalsada, kasi na tawag dito, mas mabilis na yung biyahe, wala nang traffic, mga ganyan-ganyan. Hindi ko alam kung totoo yun, pero example lang to, okay? Kunyari, ganun yung sinasabi niya. Pero ano yung other side ng issue? Lagi mong tatanungin, pag meron kang nabasa, ano yung other side ng issue? Ano yung sa kabilang end? Ano mangyayari sa mga driver natin? Anong mangyayari sa mga jeepney driver? Kaya ba nilang bumili ng mga modern jeeps? Kaya ba nilang i-sustain? Ano ba magiging epekto talaga nitong modernization, no? That is critical reading, no? Critical reading also means distinguishing between fact and opinion, no? Kung ano ba yan, katotohanan ba talaga yan o pakiramdam lang talaga yan ng nagsulat, no? Yung a statement like, sasabihin, the policy will reduce unemployment by 10%, no? Can we check it? Can we verify it, no? And if it is true, edi maganda, di ba? Pero tayo as a reader, dapat gawin natin yung part natin to also verify, no? Pag sinabi naman, the policy is the best thing that will ever happen to the country, ay iba na yun, opinion na yun, no? Kasi, how can you gauge what is the best thing to happen in this country, no? The best thing to happen in this country is for the politicians to, what? To give back what they stole from us. Charis. Okay. Anyway, asan ako? Ayun, nagdi-distinguish tayo between fact and opinion, no? Whether it is a fact or opinion, we still need to verify. That is critical reading. Another part of critical reading is recognizing persuasive techniques, such as yung emotional appeals or yung mga loaded language na bumabalik tayo doon sa author's tone, no? And purpose. Kasi, again, may laman kung ano ang mga salitang ginamit. And this can influence readers without providing solid evidence. And in exams like the UTCAT or the other college entrance exams, you may encounter passages where you are asked to judge whether a statement is fact, opinion, or inference, or maybe to evaluate the strength of an argument. The key is to always read with a questioning mind. Palagi, pag nagbabasa, no? Pag nagbabasa ka, ang una mo dapat palaging maiisip, totoo ba to? Totoo ba tong binabasa ko? Hindi laging ganun pala. Hindi ganun ha. Pag nagbasa ka, hindi dapat ang una mong maiisip, ganun pala. Dapat maiisip mo, totoo ba to? Okay? Okay. The key is to always read with a questioning mind. What is the author's purpose? Para kanino ba siya nagtatrabaho? Mamaya, pala yan? bayaran pala yung ano na yan, yung author na yan, tapos naniniwala ka na agad. Mamaya, o kaya, example na to yung mga ano eh, alam mo yung mga ano, article na sasabi, uy, ang ganda ng ano, skincare na to, ang ganda nitong makeup na to. Pero, yung ano pala, yung nag-publish pala, kung sino yung nagbebenta. Eh di, ano yun, targeted na yun, no? Hindi na yun, hindi mo na masasabing objective yung mga sinasabi dun. Kasi definitely, papagandahin nila yung pangalan ng brand nila. What is their purpose? What is their attitude? And how reliable is their reasoning? Okay? Dapat marunong talaga mag-research eh. Kaya si Cynthia Villar, nung sinabi niya na hindi importante ang research, nagkakamali siya doon. No? Remember, critical reading is about being an active reader, not a passive one. No, active reader ka, dapat nag-engage ka. It's about engaging with the text, challenging it, no? Wag magpapakampante, i-challenge natin, and drawing conclusions that are supported by evidence. Ang TLDR lang ng lahat ng sinabi ko ay gamitin ang utak. Please gamitin ang utak, no? Sabi nga sa nabasa ko lang 'to, ang sabi, "Let's try intelligence before we try artificial intelligence." I like that one. Dapat pala nilagay ko yun dito sa slides ko. Pero anyway, after everything that I taught you about critical reading, let us try to be critical in this passage. Please read this excerpt from George Orwell, from the Politics and the English Language. Sabi dito, a man may take to drink because he feels himself to be a failure and then fail all the more completely because he drinks. It is rather the same thing that is happening to the English language. It becomes ugly and inaccurate because our thoughts are foolish. But the slovenliness of our language makes it easier for us to have foolish thoughts. The point is that the process is reversible. If one gets rid of bad habits, one can think more clearly, and to think clearly is a necessary first step toward political regeneration, so that the fight against bad English is not frivolous and is not the exclusive concern of professional writers. Okay. Ano bang pinagsasabi ni George Orwell? What is his main argument? What do you think? A. Drinking is worse than bad writing. B. Language influences thought and vice versa. C. Political regeneration is impossible. Or D. Writers should ignore language habits. Sige, let's see the article once again, no, to look for evidences or details that may support our answer here. Sabi dito, a man may take to drink because he feels himself to be a failure and then fail all the more completely because he drinks. Diba? Umiinom daw yung isang tao kapag nafe-feel niya na failure siya, no? Kapag malulungkot tayo, naisip natin, ay, inom ko lang 'to. Pero ano, mas lalong nalulugmok kasi umiinom siya. At same daw yung gano'n kapag same daw yung nangyayari sa English language, no? It becomes ugly and inaccurate kasi yung thoughts natin ay foolish. Pero ano nangyayari? Bakit daw foolish yung thoughts natin? Kasi yung language daw natin, it makes it easier for us na magkaroon ng foolish thoughts. So ano ibig sabihin nun? Ibig sabihin, yung language, ini-influence niya yung ating pag-iisip, no? He compares drinking to language decay, no? Parang ano na lang siya, cycle na lang siya. Na since yung language natin ay ano, parang nagpa-perpetuate siya ng foolish thoughts, no? Parang yung vocabulary natin, for example, pag ano siya, pag puro mura, kapag puro medyo masasama yung words, then definitely maiisip natin yung masasamang bagay and vice versa, no? Ayun yung sinasabi ni George Orwell dito. Ano yung tone niya? What tone does Orwell use when he talks about language decay? Is he being humorous? Is he being serious and critical? Is he neutral? Or he is being optimistic about it? Siyempre, he is being serious and critical, no? Kasi nga, ano niya eh, kinikriticize niya nga yung language decay eh. And seryoso seryoso yung topic and he's very passionate about it, no? And hindi niya to ginagawang katatawanan, hindi siya optimistic about it. He is saying that this is a cycle. Yeah. Next, what bias can be detected in the passage? Sige. Ano sa tingin niyo yung bias doon? It's easy to think na what he is saying is right, pero there is bias in his in his writing, no? And what is it? The answer is letter B. He believes clarity in language is essential, no? Why? All he talks about is the language, and it is easy to overlook. Although I'm not saying that na walang katotohanan yung mga sinasabi niya, but you know, we can recognize na si George Orwell ay ano, meron siyang parang reverence about the language. Okay, next. What conclusion can readers draw about Orwell's view of language? Language decay is permanent. Language can be improved through effort. Writers should ignore political language. Or D, foolish thoughts cannot be changed. Tignan natin yung kung paano siya nag-talk about the language, no? It becomes ugly and inaccurate because our thoughts are foolish, but the slovenliness of our language makes it easier for us to have foolish thoughts. Wait lang, lobat na naman ako. Saksak ko lang po. Maghanap kayo ng clue dyan. Hanapan ng clue sa passage. Asan na ako? The point is that the process is reversible. Sabi niya ganun. Process is reversible. If one gets rid of bad habits, kung tatanggalin daw natin yung mga bad habits, one can think more clearly, and to think clearly is a necessary first step toward political regeneration. So very hopeful naman siya, no? So that the fight against bad English is not frivolous and is not the exclusive concern of professional writers. Okay? Yan. So, if na-point out natin doon kanina, yung kung paano siya mag-talk about language, no? Sabi niya kung yung bad habits daw ay mawawala, no? And then, what conclusion can we draw about Orwell's view of language? The answer is letter B. Language can be improved through effort. Kasi nga, nami-mention na pag if mawala daw yung bad habits natin, then magiging okay na daw yung language decay daw ay mapipigilan na. I would just like to go back to this question, yung bias niya doon sa, na madadetect mo sa passage. Kasi ang sagot natin dito is, he believes clarity in language is essential. Bakit? Kasi ayun, no, sabi niya sa dulo, no, so that the fight against bad English is not frivolous and is not the exclusive concern of professional writers. Bakit? Kasi 'di ba professional writer siya and he thinks na yung bad English, yung ugly and inaccurate, yung mga thoughts na foolish ganyan is nakakaapekto daw sa English language. Pero paano nasabing bias 'yun? Kasi kasi yung vocabulary natin and everything that makes up a language, ayun yung bumubuo doon sa language, no? Parang ang gusto niya kasi is for it to change. Pero what makes a language is the words that we're using, na pinagkasunduan nating lahat 'yan na gamitin, no? And not one person should be allowed to change it or to dictate what will happen to it, no? I would just like to add. Anyway, that is all for the critical reading. Now, I will just give you guys reading comprehension practice. No, you will read a passage, and then there will be questions about the passage. Pwedeng itanong yung main idea, yung figure of speech, or kung ano mai-infer mo, anong conclusion, author stones, ganyan. Basta halo-halo na yung question dito, no? Ayun, bibigyan ko kayo ng ilang uh, time para basahin itong passage. Galing ito sa MSA Reviewer. In-screenshot lang ni ma'am at ipapakita sa inyo for a variety of materials. Sige, basahin, basahin, basahin. Okay? If hindi pa tapos magbasa, kung kailangang ibalik, ibalik na lang, i-pause yung video, no? Sige. Next. Ayan. Ang question is, the main idea of the passage is that triumph is blank. Paano ba fini-frame nung author yung triumph? Paano niya kinukwento or dinedescribe yung triumph? Is it providing the reader a realization of his potential, utilizing a person's potential in assisting his vulnerability, enlightening ways to become successful, or D, proposing an argument about victory? What do you think? Sa reading comprehension, you only have 30 seconds to answer and your time is running. No pressure though. Pero yeah, just to remind you, no, sa reading comprehension, 30 seconds per, I know, not 30 seconds. Less than 1 minute naman. Pero at less than 60 seconds pa rin yun, di ba? Para siguro mga 45 seconds. Ata, 45. Sige, may sagot na ba? Answer sa number 1 ay letter C, no? Enlightening ways to become successful. Bakit? The passage defines triumph as diligence, accountability, and overcoming odds, essentially showing ways to achieve success. If you go back to the passage, ayun yun. Ayun yung sinasabi niya, no? Sige, balikan na nga natin. Ayan, no? Triumph is the faculty to surpass, acquiring, presuming your aptitude compromise, having what it yields in thumping into the sun, and all of that, so on and so forth, no? Okay. Number 2. The dominant figure of speech used in the passage is blank. Ayan. Tignan nyo ulit yung passage. At ano ba yung figure of speech na madalas na ginagamit doon? Sige, balikan natin konti. Yan. Anong figure of speech meron dyan? Ayun sabi dyan. Triumph is having what it yields and thumping it into the sand. Triumph is acquiring and presuming your aptitude to compromise. Ano yung ginagawa niyo dun sa word na triumph? No, parang ginagawa niyang human, no? Personification. Ayun yung figure of speech, no? Kasi triumph and frustration are given human qualities, no? Frustration can become a factor, no? Parang like ginagawa siyang tao, binibigyang buhay yung words. Number 3. In line 3 of the second stanza, inexorable endeavor means, ano ba yung inexorable? Inexorable. Ang inexorable kasi, ibig sabihin yan is, sabi sa dictionary, it's a process, force, or person that cannot be stopped, persuaded, or prevented from continuing. So, ano siya? Like, cannot be stopped, no? Pag endeavor, pag sinabing inexorable endeavor, pero pinag-combine mo na siya, it is something that is unyielding, relentless, or impossible to stop. Kasi, meron siyang determined effort or pursuit, no? Parang sinasabi na hindi siya sumusuko. Aling daan sa choices yon, winning over circumstance, natural response to serious issues, inescapable events in life, or positive outlook in life. Well, based on what I have shared to you guys, and if you look back to the passage, inexorable endeavor means winning over circumstance, no? It means relentless effort. In context, it refers to overcoming challenges. Okay? If we got all of it correct, then the future is looking good, no? I'm very happy if you did that. Pero if hindi, meron pa tayong susunod na passage, no? This is the next passage. Please read it, and then there will be series of questions again. Okay, nabasa na ba ng mga bagets? Kung hindi pa tapos, pwede nyong i-pause yung video, pero itutuloy na po natin. Para sa ating first question, sabi dito, which of the following is or are true based on the information in the article? Sa exam, pwede kayong bumalik-balik doon sa question. Nandun lang naman siya sa ano nyo, sa, tawag dito, sa test paper nyo, no? Pwede nyo i-cross-verify. Yan. Alin dyan yung mga totoo at alin dyan yung hindi. Ako, kung hindi ko pa nababasa yung text, pero gusto ko na tong sagutan, medyo magagets ko naman kung alam ko yung ibig sabihin ng calculus at kung paano siya ginagamit, no? Kasi, yung form, masyadong negative, and parang gusto ko na siyang tanggalin, no? Sabi dito, calculus is never a part of our everyday life. But it is, actually. It is part of our everyday life. And so the answer is letter A. No? Calculus analyzes data changes, tracks business progress, and evaluates new programs. No? 4 is false because calculus is definitely, kahit ayaw nating tanggapin, it is part of our everyday life. I hope you got that right. For our next question, the writer would most likely agree with the following assumptions except. So ito ngayon, parang ginagauge mo na yung character ng writer, no? Ano kaya yung ano niya, yung mag-agree siya sa akin pagka ginawa ko yung mga assumptions na to. So hindi na lang siya basta sa pagkakaintindi sa text but also i-infer mo na yung character ng writer. You're making conclusions na of who the writer is, no? What type of person she is. Excuse me. Pag kailangan ibalik doon sa passage, ibalik lang ha. Okay lang yon. Okay? Reveal na natin yung answer. The answer is letter C. No, C. A teacher will need calculus to evaluate student performance. Bakit ito yung sagot? A teacher, the passage never, ano pala, ba't ako nagsimula sa a teacher? Okay, wait lang, again. Ito yung sagot because the passage never mentions teachers using calculus for grades. Pero the rest of the choices, minention niya nung writer. So if you will make this assumption, well, maybe the writer will not agree with you, no? Okay. Next. The main purpose of the passage is blank. Okay? The main purpose of the passage is to inform the readers about the significance of calculus in different fields. No? Because the passage is informative and it is showing applications in medicine, business, and engineering. No? So like, the author wants to inform us na significant yung calculus sa iba't ibang fields. No? Kahit na kina-question ng mga students kung bakit natin siya pinag-aaralan. Okay. And then a last question, which of the following is not an application of calculus? Isipin mo na lang or hanapin mo na lang kung alin doon sa passage, alin dito sa choices yung hindi nabanggit doon sa passage, and then you have your answer. Okay na ba? Siguro okay na, no? I-reveal na natin ang answer. Kasi ang answer ay letter B, describing the stages appropriate to the given situation. This choice is very vague, no? Anong sinasabi nito? Hindi ko rin nga maintindihan kung ano ba yung pinapertain niya, no? So like wala siyang direct connection with calculus. And this is not mentioned as well as an application of calculus, and the others are, no? And that's it. That's it for our module 3, and that's all as well for this whole series of English verbal ability and reading comprehension portion, no? I really hope na marami kayong natutunan sa tatlong module na pinagsama-sama nating um, aralin. I am praying that you guys pass the exams that you will take, kung ano mang exam yung iti-take nyo, kung saang school man yung gusto ninyo, at kung anong school ang deserve ninyo, kung ano ang school na meant para sa inyo. No, sana makuha nyo siya, at marami akong naipabaon sa inyong mga rules ng grammars, ng vocabulary, and pagiging critical, no? I hope na kahit hindi man exactly yung mga questions na pinakita ko sa inyo yung lumabas sa exams, ma-transfer nyo yung skill para masagutan kung ano man yung ihaharap sa inyo ng mga test maker. And this will not be the last time that we see each other, or that I talk to you, kasi asynchronous lang ngayon, but there will be a final coaching, and makaka-interact ko kayo doon synchronously. If you have questions for me, you can ask it by then. And I am very excited to meet you. I hope and pray that you um, pass the assessments, no? Sana hindi kayo mahirapan sa formative assessment. Sana masagutan ninyo siya. At kita kits. Bye-bye!